Yo, it's Midas. This video is going to trigger some investors, but this is why I believe investing in the S&P 500 will always make you stay broke. So disclaimer, everything said in this video is only for educational purposes. Make sure to always do your own research. But if you're curious as to why I believe this and why I'm credible, this is why you should listen to me, Midas. Well, I beat the S&P 500 by 103x by picking the right stocks in crypto. If you're curious for the proof of this, check out my YouTube description on my link tree. It's at the date of all my calls, the takers I invested in, as well as where the call was posted, whether it was YouTube or TikTok, and my total P&L, which is over 4,000%. If you want to take a look at all my crypto and stock picks, check out my YouTube description on my link tree. And if you want to join an exclusive community of people who want to become financially free, where I teach you guys how to beat the S&P 500 by 103x, as well as get exclusive alpha on crypto and stocks, join the waitlist on my YouTube description on my link tree. But this is why I believe you will stay broke if you just buy the S&P 500, and especially if you're young. So this is the problem with the S&P 500, especially if you're young. The S&P 500 returns is 8% annually. That's not enough to build real wealth early. You'll need decades to see meaningful compounds. And by the time you're rich, you're 50 plus and missed your prime lifestyle window. And safe doesn't mean effective if your goal is freedom by 30. And I believe that investing in the S&P 500 only works for the rich. And let's compare this with a case study comparing a low income earner to a fast income earner. And if you're a low income earner investing in the S&P 500, I believe you'll stay poor. For example, let's say you're 25 years old, your income is 30,000 a year. You're investing around 20% of your income, which is 6,000 a year. Your return is 15% annual growth. That's a very generous though. And the time horizon 10 years. You add that into the future value formula, that's a $121,000 return in, let's say, a decade. And after 10 years of saving and investing consistently, you've only made 122K. That is still not enough to retire, quit your job, or even escape the rat race. It's barely enough to pay property in most cities. You would still rely on your 9 to 5. On the other hand, let's talk about this high income earner who gets rich slowly. Let's say you're 25. Instead, you make $300,000 a year. You're investing 20%. That's 60,000 a year. Your returns are about 50% annual growth. Time horizon is 10 years again. That means you're going to be making around a $1.2 million return after 10 years. And this person becomes a millionaire in 10 years just by doing the same thing. No side hustles, no stock picking, no risk. There's a big contrast here, right? Like you're only making a few thousands after 10 years, but this guy over here is making millions. So 122K might seem like a lot, but if you consider the year-over-year inflation and how competitive the job market is getting, 122K is nothing. If you make 60K instead, you could make 270K in a decade, but still nothing. And if you're poor, I believe it's just a slow treadmill. You'll be investing for 40 years just to retire modestly. And I believe the only way you can achieve financial freedom is through learning how to pick stocks. And that is through picking stocks that give you an asymmetric return. And a stock with an asymmetric return means a potential of 10x or more over the next decade with limited losses, but an unlimited potential. And there are many companies right now that are doing this. It's just disrupting a specific technology sector. So let's give another case study. But let's say you started investing back in 2020 when there was a COVID-19 outbreak and everything was dirt cheap when the market suddenly rebounded. You could have bought the S&P 500 at 253 in 2020 and rode to its peak in 2021 of 470. This is an 85% return, which is decent because the S&P 500 usually grows 10 to 15% per year. On the other hand, let's say you entered into MicroStrategy at $18 in 2020 and rode to its peak at 103 in 2021. That is a 472% return. You could have also entered into Tesla. Bought Tesla at 95 in 2020 and rode to its peak at almost 300 in 2021. That is a 208% return. And finally, you could have looked at crypto early, bought Solana at $1.40 in 2020 and rode to its peak of 228 in 2021. That is a 16K% return. And this is results from just following my stock picking strategy when I was first starting out. From 2020 to 2021, I made around a 2,000% by just picking different stocks and not investing in the S&P 500. So what's the alternative? Well, I believe that learning how to pick these asymmetric bets like 10x cryptos, microcap stocks, early stage technology is the best way to understand how all this asymmetric returns work. It will take time, but I believe the payoff is worth it. You should also build a high income skill and invest aggressively in your 20s. Focus on entrepreneurship, trading, or high growth sectors, and use the S&P 500 as capital preservation, maybe during the bear market, not wealth creation. That should be not your main source of income or your main source of becoming financially free. I also want to highlight there's no risk without reward. I am not saying to gamble all your pennies on penny stocks or microcap cryptos. That is just gambling. I'm saying that if you do enough research and learn how to invest properly, you can make money in the stock market without it feeling like you're gambling. And I'm releasing my strategy for how I find these 10x crypto plus stock picks soon. You saw the proof. You know what I'm able to do. This is why I believe it's so crucial to understand both sides of the market and you're able to find these penny stocks very early. If you have any questions, comment them down below and I'll respond when I can. And if you enjoyed the video, subscribe and like the video. I appreciate the support of all my followers. That's all I got for today. I'll catch you guys in my next video. Peace.